All right, so the newspaper subscriber is saying, A's editorial argues that by making certain fundamental changes in government, we would virtually eliminate our most vexing social ills. Okay, so if we make these certain, basic fundamental changes, we are going to pretty much eliminate most of these awful social ills. Oh, but the newspaper says, but clearly this conclusion is false. So the conclusion that we would eliminate our most vexing social ills is false because, after all, the argument Arnott makes for this claim depends on the crazy assumption that government can be trusted to act in the interest of the public. Wow. So what is our conclusion?
So the conclusion is false.
Yes.
That
And our only reasoning is...
Do what?
And our only reasoning for why it's false is?
Because the assumption that the government can be trusted, they assume, or it depends on the assumption that the government can be trusted to act in the interest of the public.
All right, so what is the gap here for you?
Okay, so I just kind of thought it was a crazy argument.
Yeah, why?
That they're going to make these changes and it's just going to fix all of the social problems.
Okay, but that is not, I agree that Arnott's argument, but our conclusion is this conclusion is false. So we're looking for, why is our argument false? That this, when we say this conclusion is false, why is us saying that flawed?
I don't know.
Okay, so our only reason we're saying this is false because it depends on an assumption that the government can be trusted to act in the interest of the public. Is this enough support for saying that Arnott's conclusion is false?
No. Well, it can't be because there's a flaw there. So it can't be.
So why? What do you think about this, or why do you what are we failing to consider or assuming here?
So I'm not sure. So this is where I will say that I struggle. I'm not good at making predictions.
Okay, so
like at all.
Okay, so what if someone said, if we pass this law to save more lives, if we pass this law, it's going to save more lives. And I say, this conclusion is false because it depends on the assumption that the government can be trusted to act in the interest of the public. So we shouldn't pass this law. This law isn't going to save more lives. Would you agree with that?
No.
Because
because it could still save lives.
Yeah, just because it depends on this assumption. One, maybe them passing these reasons, like there's another reason they're passing it, but it also comes about too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just because it is based on this assumption is based on an assumption. Like, how do we know that the government cannot be trusted to act in the interest of the public? And two, maybe it doesn't have to act in the interest of the public for this to actually happen. Right?
Right.
All right.
Like
so
maybe it's not related at all. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So go ahead and read through these and tell me what you think.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I know what the answer is, but because I do remember looking at this one because I was like, what is happening?
All right. Let's start with E then.
Okay. So it uses the key term government in one sense in a premise and in another sense in the conclusion. No, it does not do that.
No, it doesn't. No. It's not.
It's still talking about government.
Yes, and we're not like we're not saying like all dogs have bark, therefore this tree is a dog. Like because it barks.
No. Yeah.
Excellent.
No, definitely not that one. Okay. It distorts the opponent's argument and then attacks this distorted argument. I don't think it has a distorted argument. I don't think he distorts the argument at all. It's just
distorts the opponent's argument and then attacks this distort. So we distort it and then we attack the
Then you
distorted
attack
version.
it, which I didn't think that it was distorted in the first place.
Which we twist out of shape. Like, are we saying that? Are we twisting their are we twisting the opponent's argument out of shape and attacking it based on it being twisted? No, I wouldn't say it's D.
No,
We're not distorted. Like, we're not like saying
not distorted.
like, you know, like virtually eliminate our most vexing social ills. We're not saying like, why would we want like we're not taking it and like putting it into a different light that we didn't mean. Or we're not taking our nets, what our net said, and changing it and like, you know, tearing it down based on like our perception of what our net was trying to say.
Yeah, no. Okay, so C is actually what I put.
Okay.
It fails to consider that even if an argument's conclusion is false, some of the assumptions used to justify that conclusion may nonetheless be true.
Okay.
So I thought that one was true because I was saying, okay, well, maybe the conclusion is false, but maybe like what you underlined in pink, maybe that is still true. So it's based on this assumption, but what if that assumption is true?
Even it fails to consider that even if an argument's conclusion is false. Okay, so when it says even, it fails to consider that even if an argument's conclusion is false. So what conclusion are we saying is false?
That the government would virtually eliminate the social problems.
Yeah, so this can be false, but some of the things being used to justify this conclusion may be true.
Yeah.
So what are we saying to justify this?
That.
After all, the argument our net makes depends on the dubious assumption. Okay, but our net is not, this is not our net's justification for his conclusion. So what, for this to be like, it would be like our net's editorial argues that by making certain fundamental changes in government, we would virtually eliminate our most vexing social ills. For C to be correct, there would have to be some support for our net's conclusion that this is true. We're not talking about assumptions used to justify, like when it says that conclusion, it's talking about our nets. This part in pink down here is not being used to support our net's conclusion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's where after all, the argument makes for this claim depends. So that's not his support, but is it not a little bit of the support that he's using because he's using it?
We're saying it is. This newspaper subscriber is saying it.
Oh.
We have no idea if our net thinks that or not.
Okay. I see. So the newspaper guy is saying, yeah, but he is assuming this. Our net is not saying that. Okay, I'm there. Okay. I'm there. Oh, that one is so freaking tricky.
It is.
And this is what is so frustrating is when I'm like, okay, I got this. And then I get to answer choices. A change that is required for virtual elimination of society's most vexing social ills as a change that will guarantee the virtual elimination of those ills. Okay, so honestly, this one was just a hot mess. And I was like, I don't think so. But I crossed it out because it's the hot mess.
Our conclusion that it is false, treat a change that is required for virtual elimination of society's most vexing social ills as a change that will guarantee, like we don't guarantee the virtual elimination of those ills at all. And what would be, it treats a change that is required, what would be what is required? Maybe I guess like if we were basing it through the eyes of our conclusion that this conclusion is false, it would be that the government needs to be trusted to act in the interest of the public. But I don't think that we then say that if the government, if it didn't depend on this, then this conclusion would be guaranteed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one, if I was trying to fill it in, that's how I would fill it in. And I'm like, yeah, that makes no sense.
Yeah. That one, I just was like, no, I don't even know. That can't be it. That is not it. Okay, so A, so I know that A is right, but here is where Okay, so it says it repudiates a claim merely on the grounds that an inadequate argument has been given for it. So what I couldn't determine was what the inadequate argument was. That's why I went with C instead of A, because I couldn't figure out what the inadequate argument was.
Just because like Arnett, like, is it like, is like, it refuses a claim merely on the grounds that an inadequate argument has been given for it. So he's refusing to believe that if we make certain fundamental changes, the government would virtually eliminate our most vexing social ills, because and the reason that it's inadequate is it because it depends on this dubious assumption. But couldn't it depend on this dubious assumption but still actually be true?
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the flaw.
Okay. So it's inadequate in that it's just based
Because
on this
okay,
assumption.
so our conclusion that this conclusion is false.
Hmm.
So we repudiate a claim. So we
Hmm.
repudiate Arnett's argument
Yeah.
just because Arnett has an inadequate argument for giving it. So we say what Arnett is saying is false because he gave an inadequate argument. But really, he could be making like Arnett's claim could be inaccurate. Like, who knows?
Right.
Like,
Okay.
it could still be true.
So he formed this conclusion based on the assumption that the government couldn't be trusted, and that is why the argument is inadequate.
Yeah,
He has
because
no
it
argument
refuses
else.
a claim merely because Arnett gave an inadequate argument for it. But the claim could still be true, right?
Yeah.
That certain fundamental changes in government would be virtually eliminated in our most vexing social ills. That could be true, even though Arnett gave a inadequate argument for his claim. That doesn't mean that it's for sure wrong.
Right. Okay. Okay. That's where I got caught up though.